Well, the road to the White House for Republicans in 2016 took a turn to the right this past weekend at the CPAC conference summit. But is that CPAC mentality making candidates go too far to the right to make them viable in a general election? Well, why don't you listen for yourselves and make up your own mind.
Illegal immigrants that weren't citizens.
For those that made a ooh sound, is that what it was?
Well,
I'm marking them down as neutral, and I want to be your second choice.
If I can take on 100,000 protesters, I can do the same across the world.
Nobody was beheading anybody in Wisconsin.
No, but I said nobody else has that experience. No one in the House, the Senate, no other candidate.
Liberal policies have failed our poor communities. Our schools are not equal, and the poverty gap continues to widen.
Obamacare is a disaster.
I don't care what they write about me in the New York Times. They can keep it.
President Obama has disqualified himself. He has shown himself incapable of being our commander-in-chief.
If we had a commander-in-chief that understood that the way to defeat ISIS is not to find him a job.
He says that ISIS is a religious movement. Again, he's simply wrong.
So much ridiculous stuff being spewed, especially out of the White House. Someone should say it's time to shut up.
Harumph, 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 harumph.
Well, in the end, do you think, I heard two schools of thought regarding Jeb Bush here.
Yeah.
One is that he did himself some good because he was the only one to be able to stand on the stage and say, I'm sorry, I don't agree with all of you when it comes to immigration reform. So he looked presidential. The flip side is he came in 5th in the straw poll. So was it a good or bad weekend for him?
You got to throw the straw poll out the window. The straw poll means nothing. It's like the Iowa straw poll, which is just who can light their hair on fire the best usually wins both of those polls. And Rand Paul has won this thing before. I think Rand and Ron Paul have won 7 of the last 10 CPAC straw polls. Yeah, I think he looked a little presidential when he was doing that, but that's not going to get you the Republican primary or the Republican nomination. Jeb Bush's path to the White House is, do Republicans think he's the most electable? Because they're not going to vote for him based on just conservative principles alone. There are plenty of other more conservative guys out there. And that was the red meat that was being flung at CPAC this week.
You know, Tom, it was interesting. They did a poll of the young folks that were at the CPAC thing, and they said, what do you want? They want somebody that can win. So it seems that it's a practical undercurrent of some folks that maybe didn't get before. But at the end of the day, is this going to hurt them more than help them? Because the whole idea of the Koch brothers and the Club for Growth was the big boys with the big checkbooks, we're going to try and clear the field here a little bit earlier and give the money to whoever we think we can win. But it looks like this kind of clown car is going to go on here for months and months here and really, I think, define the primary process just like it did 4 years ago.
Your words, Richard, red meat to the base. What happened at
I didn't say red meat again. So you said chicks
you said
and red
clown
meat.
car, I said red
Thank
meat.
you.
Somebody said red meat.
Somebody check his
Same
hearing.
thing, red meat.
I did say chicks, though.
The control room was talking to me. Oh, I don't have the IFB in. But Richard, red meat, no matter who said it, red meat to the base. What happened is a good event. I know we don't agree because we're up north and we don't have the same politics that they do. It was very presidential of Jeb Bush because what he said was basically, I'm not going to bend like a pretzel totally to give you what you want to hear, and people are going to start looking at him. I'm telling you, he is the only one that can beat Hillary Clinton.
Keep in
and
mind,
he can't
keep
win.
in mind, Jeb Bush bust in supporters to drown out the boos
They
with
all
cheers.
do. They
don't all do. I mean, Rand Paul busts in people to vote for him.
They all do, and the straw poll means absolutely
And did
nothing.
you hear where the buses came from?
No.
From K Street. So, I mean, he was bussing in people from K Street, and I agree, they all have to bus in people, but, you know, I think that there's people who stayed away from CPAC who we can also look at, like John Kasich and others, who, you know, are potentially can win this thing and do have the ability to not only appeal in the primary, to appeal in the general.
Did you say John Kasich?
Yes.
Is it fair to say, though,
Absolutely.
is it fair to say in March?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that
John
in March?
Kasich.
That in March, that there is, it's not supposed to be decided now. I get that, okay? But it looks like this is going to take a long time to weed out this field, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge field.
Longer than the Republican leadership or fathers would like it's going to take.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
going to take a while.
They would like to get all of these people out of the way and settle on somebody who can potentially beat Hillary Clinton. You know, maybe Jeb Bush can. He's got the name recognition. He's certainly got the money. But, you know, there is a school of thought, speaking of those young people, that says he is just very much like Hillary Clinton, too backwards looking. And they want somebody who is forward looking.
Well, we have some news on another story that we've been following, obviously, at length here, really defining a lot of what was for months here, the stories that came to justice, race, and police. When we come back, Department of Justice expected to release a report when it came to the Ferguson Police Department, and it is pretty scathing, apparently, in its findings. Also, President Obama has created a task force to strengthen policing across the country. Is this a step in the right direction when it comes to easing those tensions between certain minority communities and the police? Stay with us.